and it said Ben was recording. Oh, never mind. Let's go.
Is we're recording?
Yeah, quit messing around.
I'm sorry. We were just talking about video games.
We're just talking about latency in video games, yes.
All the games are coming out. They saved all the good games to come out at this time of year.
Yes.
Super annoying. Well, actually, it's good because when's the last time you guys played a video game before this time of year?
I play some during the summer, but not heavily.
I don't. Yeah, I've been hardly touching anything.
There are like weeks where I never turn on a TV, actually. But anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
I have not been interested in cable television for probably 15 years. Just zero interest. Anyway, welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. My name's Ben. We're here to talk about shooting. Mr. Joel Park is here.
Hello, everyone.
Talk about things and be nice. Professor Kim.
Hi.
From the rainy part of the country.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get into it. You guys know the rules. Everybody comes with a topic. So, show and tell. That'll be my thing today. Or something that triggers you. That's normally what Joel likes to talk about.
It is. I get triggered often. What can I say? I just can't help it.
You can't help yourself. You're fucking... Yeah, but like they look around at work and they're like, if one dude's shooting up this place, it's that quiet motherfucker over there.
That's why I don't talk about guns at work. No.
They'd be like, it is 100% that dude with all the latent rage.
Yes.
All right. Who wants to go first?
Ben, you have a show and tell. I'm interested what this could be.
It's going to talk about, you're going to be like, well, of course that's your show and tell. But it is actually kind of interesting for shooting because I've been using it in some different ways. Are you ready?
You posted about it today, didn't you?
I did not.
Oh.
Not the 3D stage builder stuff.
Okay.
It's this. It's the phone.
Okay. I'm interested. Tell me more. Are you interested?
Tell you more. Okay, so this is one of the new iPhone 11 Pros. The interesting thing about this, if you're recording your practice, which a lot of people do, is you throw your phone on a little tripod or something. Like I keep one with my shooting stuff or in my shooting truck, as you know, Joel. A little tripod stays in there. Mm-hmm. So you can throw your phone on a tripod and get good footage of yourself shooting if you're curious what you look like when you're shooting by yourself. The interesting thing for the new phones, the new iPhones, is the ultra-wide camera. So as you can see, people have been making fun of these because they have 3 cameras. The new one is the ultra-wide one. So it's basic. You've seen a GoPro footage, so it's basically like a fisheye thing.
Yep.
It's a really wide angle, which people find annoying. Like if you're using a GoPro to record something that's not like first-person footage of you shooting, usually people find that GoPros look kind of goofy. Mm-hmm. But what's nice about this is it allows you to switch between, and the ultra-wide angle is really nice if you're looking to record an entire bay. So I've actually have found this after, I don't know, I got one right when it came out. It's been, 6 weeks now? Something like that these have been available, maybe more. September they launched, I don't know. But I got one right away, and I have to say, it's been a lot more useful when I'm setting up on a shooting bay. I'm like, hey, I want to record myself, and I'm like, I can't quite get what I want. Because I want to see myself head to toe everywhere I'm going to be standing. That's what I want to see. I mean, whatever I put on Instagram is usually just nonsense. I'll just put something on Instagram. But if I'm recording it for my own use, I need to see myself head to toe everywhere that I'm going to be standing, and having a lens option, the ultra wide angle, like it does make it easier to get that. Now, it might not be super clean looking footage to show to other people, but it definitely does the job from a training perspective. So I have found that much more useful, being honest. So I think the ultra wide angle lenses are going to be, I think they're already on some other phone brands as well. And that's going to prove to be, I think, a really good option. What do you say? Well, Kim, you've got the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you found that new lens useful?
Yes. I haven't tried the super wide one, but I did a lot of slow-mo recoil management stuff past week. One thing I really like is, the quality is better, so yes. I can kind of zoom in to the pistol rather than my whole body, and then actually see a little bit more detail, better quality screen. And another thing is in Washington right now, 4 p.m. the sun's going down, but it's got like a nighttime mode, so it kind of brightens up even without having the flashlight on. So even in the dark, it's capturing really nicely. So it's been pretty good with the slow-mo too.
Yeah, so I've been happy with that. Just in the couple of years since we've been, not even a couple of years, and but since we've been started training group, like the cameras that we have available to us are way better.
Yep.
So even the drone we use is a fairly cheap drone, but it gets very effective overhead shots of the stages, and it's like, hey, this is how this lays out. And what would you say, Joel? Is that improving your sense of the geography of a stage?
Yeah, I like it because you don't always have time where maybe your GoPro footage or somebody standing way back doesn't show you everything, so you get to see the depth of the stage also a lot better.
Yeah, so definitely I found that useful. Between the drones and the ultra wide angle, we have more tools available to us, so I like that. So anyway, if you're interested in how those cameras are working out, that is pretty helpful. The newer ultra wide lenses.
And even if you aren't,
did that take it in a strange direction for you, Joel?
You never know with you, Ben. No, it's good. I would say even if you're not balling out of control though, and you just have a regular whatever phone, recording, like doing what Ben's talking about, recording your practices, live fire and dry fire is a good idea. It's something you should be doing, even if you don't post it on Instagram. It doesn't matter. So, like for instance, somebody that's coming in.
Especially you don't have to record the whole fucking thing. Mm-hmm. Just like be doing your practice, and then just think like, if you think, hey, I wonder how this looks, or am I doing this right? Just like throw your phone on a tripod, turn it on, do a few repetitions, record yourself head to toe, and then go take a look at the camera, and you can get a pretty good sense of what's happening.
Yeah, or how about even if you don't think you're doing anything wrong, you should still record a couple, because then you get to the end, you're like, oh, I didn't realize when I get to the end I stand straight up. I thought I was staying low. I'm apparently not. Yeah. So even if you think things are going well, you should still record a handful of reps.
Yeah, and maybe this is veering off topic slightly, but I see a lot of stuff when people always want to put in their match footage into training group. Mm-hmm. That's what they want to do. But I find myself as like, nope, I want to see how you're training. And then people are like, oh, well, I can't train. I can only train like indoors or doing this or that, or I just have dry fire. And it's like, I just want to see what you're doing for training, because I always find that useful when you just put a camera on somebody while they just kind of do their thing for a few minutes, and you pick up on a lot of stuff, and it's not even stuff that you would necessarily think is directly related to their technique. It's like, hey, like for example, if you see somebody doing slow motion dry fire repetitions one way, and then they do their proper speed dry fire, and you can see things change, that's, hey, like, do your earlier repetitions, full speed, things like that. You could start to really see what's going on in people's training, and that's very useful, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Professor, what do you got?
Yes. So, yes, I think pretty much almost everybody is having off season now. So major matches are over and all that. My off season started from October. So Carry Optics, that was my last one, and then after that, I was kind of easing it out. So for me, the big difference between hot season and off season is if I work out, I don't want to feel fatigued to the point where I cannot practice. I cannot hold my gun up, kind of thing. So I don't want that situation in the hot season. So I started working with my physical therapist, and I worked with my physical trainer for a while now, and both of them are friends. We are all friends. So my physical therapist, when we started working on, which was in the beginning of the hot season, he suggested me very strongly that I need to work on the opposite muscles from shooting. So what he meant was every time you grip something, you're supposed to strengthen opening your fingers as well. So like he said, concentric, if you have to do that, you need to do eccentric, I think. So this year transition was huge, and my physical therapist keep saying, hey, you need to strengthen your back. So when your shoulders are, shrugged forward kind of thing and stressing a lot with the target transition, you need to balance those muscles. So now we started working on balancing my body. So because if you start doing a lot of repetition work, only one like eccentric, for example, your concentric muscles will tire out, or you will have tendonitis issue or stuff like that. So typically for shooters, we have elbow issues, wrist issues, or shoulder issues. Those are common issues. And this year, especially, I had some shoulder issues, and now I'm starting to develop the muscle that's going to balance the shoulder load, which is the back, the shoulder scapular area. So my physical trainer and physical therapist both are on PSTG making videos now. So we started making videos on developing actually the muscles that will balance for shooters. So we already recorded everything. So for PSTG members, it's dropping now, and it's going to drop more over the time in the off season. So it's a really good time in the off season where you can actually strengthen your muscle, not like general exercise. I'm talking about strengthening, so your body fatigues and like you have muscle sore next day kind of thing. I don't want that in the hot season because I want to prioritize my shooting training. So in the off season, I really recommend people to do more strengthening work at the gym. If it's snowing, it's a pretty good idea to go to the gym in the nice warm gym and start working out and make your muscle grow now. And then by the time you have to hit the training really hard, your body should be ready.
Yeah.
I like it.
Let's go. All right, Joel. We got two, I would say, amazing topics.
Oh, boy.
You don't even have to be great. You can even be a little bit lame, and we're still going to have a pretty good show.
Okay. Well, I'll try to do my best. Well, mine's kind of another one of my observations. I mean, I'm not triggered, but it's just, maybe it's like for what it's worth. So,
I'm not mad, bro. I'm not mad. You sound fucking mad, okay?
Hey, don't you
sound
so
mad.
aggressive. Calm down.
Sound mad. Don't be mad. Be happy.
Well, I've shot a lot of matches this year, and I met, a lot of new people, and I'm a people watcher. I try to pay attention to how other people prepare or train, and I'm always looking to learn more because I want to see like what people are doing. But something I've noticed that I see a lot of people miss the boat on is during their walkthrough, they walk around where they're memorizing where the targets are, but they aren't memorizing how their body's going to move. And I'll elaborate a bit. So they walk through and it's like target, yep, 2 targets there, yep. Okay, 3 targets there, yep, like here's my order. But
hey,
it's not.
Are you riffing on some talk? Like was it on the Nationals talk through video where I talked about body angle when you do the magazine grab?
No.
All right, never mind. Thought you were stealing. I thought you were sniping my topics, Joel.
I can have my own original thought without stealing from you.
Well, I thought you stole everything you said from Cody. I didn't really know.
That's true. Cody's very good. So like an example was, imagine the Nationals. There's a stage with a low port, and there were, I don't know, 7 poppers, 6 poppers, something like that. And then off to the left, there was a tuxedo target. Okay. So if you just like kind of lean down, and you're like, yeah, like, okay, I'll shoot the poppers and I'll shoot this tuxedo target. No big deal. But maybe you didn't realize, like, unless you actually get in the position you're going to shoot, maybe you think you're going to squat down and you're like, oh, I can't make this. I have to go to a knee. Well, you need to be like actually rehearsing that with your body during the walkthrough. Maybe during that left tuxedo, you can't reach that. Like you need to actually position yourself on the right side of the port. So when your arms are extended, you can actually get the correct angle to shoot that target. So I'm thinking of a stage where there was the end position kind of comes to a sharp triangle. And you're doing a bunch of shooting and maybe you're a little bit off balance. So unless you actually stood there with your arms extended like you are shooting, you would not know that, hey, I'm going to be off balance. Maybe I want my left foot all the way up as far as I can get it in this triangle. This is the way I'm going to shoot. I still am assured then I can move my body all the way from left to right so I can see all the targets. So just walking through and memorizing where the targets are is not enough. So I think the physical walkthrough where you're actually, air gunning, where it's like, to spell it out, it's like I have a handgun that I'm actually pointing at the targets, but of course my hands are empty. I'm holding my hands that are making a fist. But actually going through the motions just like I'm shooting the stage is very important and powerful. And I think if you just walk through with your eyes, looking at where the targets are going to be and thinking about it, you're missing the boat.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It's like people don't think about exact spot they have to stop.
Yeah.
And another issue I see often is if there's a position where there's a wall next to the target, some people go too deep to the port or deep to the position. So the target came out of the barricade, but it's like far away from the barricade. But you don't have to go that deep. As long as the target just comes out of the barricade, like maybe not covering the alpha zone, but target comes out and maybe the delta zone or the edge of the target is right next to the barricade, that's deep enough. But a lot of people go way too deep, and the target just comes out, but you're unnecessarily going too deep, which is gonna take more time.
Yeah. Or if you're going to drop step, I'll go ahead and position myself exactly how I'm going to be. Hey, I'll have to really lean for this target. I plan to drop step out of this. So I don't have a handgun in my hands, but all the motion I'm doing is exactly the way I want to be moving when I actually shoot the stage.
So smart, Joel.
Nah, not really.
This was a great show. All right. So we got two kind of interesting topics we can do from email. First one, very simple. What USPSA division is best for uniformed police officers who carry 9mm pistols?
I guess it depends on if they're shooting their duty gear and where the magazines would be and where the holster would be.
Tell me more.
If you're using if you have like a horizontal or a vertical mag carrier and it's like all the way up front, so it'd be, I don't know, like 11 o'clock or something, I suppose, if you're right-handed, then like that would probably put you in limited division. You're not going to shoot production with that gear. So it depends what your goals are and what equipment you're using. If you're using your duty gun with a proper USPSA rig, then that gives you more options. But if you want to shoot it with your duty type gear, that's awesome too. So I think it depends on what your goals are and what equipment you're using.
Yes, and I would say if you're getting ammo from work, then you will be, I imagine, shooting work ammo in training. That is going to restrict you to shooting that caliber. I mean, probably you're going to shoot your work gun. I mean, my inclination is to say production, but if you think limited makes more sense, you could shoot that as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think it's going to make too big of a difference. The point is you're going to have a gun and practice with it, which is not a bad thing to do. Well, what else we got here? Oh, next topic. This one's a little more complicated. It might even be considered spicy, Joel, so watch yourself.
Oh, boy.
Easy now. Easy. So I got more than one email on this topic, I think because of something I said on the podcast. I've been thinking about this for a few months. Since all this craziness with the classifications has been going on, I had some thoughts, potential solutions that I thought would be fun to hear discussed on the podcast. So hear me out. What if the classifications floated according with current skill using match finishes? For instance, if Joe Slow competed in Eastern North Carolina, he would be based locally on his finishes level 1 and up, on match finishes level 1 and up. Let's say Joe Slow put in 4 months dry fire using Ben's book, and I wants to go compete at Area 6. That finish now put in his classification series with whatever weights to be determined. Instead of him being M class locally, he is now an A class in his area. Like, Jesus. I mean, so this gets complicated, what he's saying. But basically discussing a revamp of the classification system. If he spends the next 2 years fucking off and shoots local matches, his ranking would adjust accordingly. I hope this makes sense, but I think that'd be quite a fix for the whole system. Plus, get rid of proper calibration. Oh, blah, blah. Okay, great. That's good. And then the reason I'm skipping through that one is there's another email here from another guy. I just listened to the latest podcast, thought I had and had a thought about fixing the classification system. What if there were only a finite number of slots per classification per division? It would make it a more realistic and bigger deal if GM if there's only 100 slots available. Okay, and then he has some stuff expounding on that about like you kind of come up with the number of potential GMs based on the participation, whatever. But anyway, potential fixes for the classification system. What do you say, guys? What do you think?
So he's basically talking about requalifying, kind of.
Well, each guy had a different potential solution to the perceived problem. So what do we agree that there's a problem? That'd be the first one.
I think there is a way to cheat the system.
Tell me more.
So
No, you don't need to tell them more.
yes. So in that manner, yes, there is a problem in that manner. So I live 15 minutes from BC. In BC IPSC, how they get classified is by shooting a qualifier match, which is not like a classifier match. It's just a regular match that is designated to be one of the classifier score, like a match finish. If you shoot nationals, that percentage you shot is gonna be one of your classification score. So in IPSC BC, they don't have classifier at matches, but all they do is just shoot those qualifiers a couple of times a year, and that match finish percentage will be your classifier stage. But there's a flaw over there too. I heard there's a case where really good guys show up and then throw out all the percentage, or some people don't want you to be a GM, so the GM in that classifier in that match may shoot different division to lower the percentage, stuff like that. So I think good mix of that, like using match score, is gonna be a good idea. Like using nationals as like a not one single score, but maybe like a whole bump. So if you finished whatever percentage, if it's above your classification, no matter how many classification score you had, I think jumping up is pretty good idea. Basically using nationals as 4 classifier score, if that makes sense. But if it's an area match, I think that can be used as like 2 scores. So if you shot 90% at area match, you could be double 90 on your score kind of thing. Could be an idea. Classifier itself, I think classifier stages are getting better. So last year there was a lot of classifiers at nationals. This year I'm seeing a couple too, and those classifier stages were not one of those, oh, it's not possible, humanly not possible to handle that. I think the new classifiers stages are a little bit better than the ones before I saw. And in terms of that, I think there is actually some improvement in terms of the classifier stage itself.
I like it.
Mhm.
I guess I don't really care one way or the other because match finish is obviously the most important.
Right. Well, let's just start at the beginning. If there's like, what is the problem if there is one?
That people are in a classification they don't deserve.
We have like, so everybody would say the perceived issues, we have too many fucking GMs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I would say we have a strange situation where GM is so stratified. You know what I mean? It's like takes such a it's a big chunk. Like you might be a GM and you've earned the classification legitimately and all. I mean, you belong in GM as far as anyone's concerned, and you go to nationals and shoot 75%. There's plenty of those people, and then there's GMs that are in the hunt to win the match. So that's a big gap, I would say, which is a bit strange. But the situation we're in now, where I'd say the classifiers now are hard as fuck to get GM on. I mean, by my reckoning, but we've had maybe a decade before this where it was substantially easier with reshoots allowed and a lot of people being GMs. So the problem now is kind of like we could sit back and do nothing, and in a decade or so, we will have a lot less GMs actively competing if things stay the way they are, because it's so much harder to get a GM card. So it'll kind of sort, like that issue will sort itself out over time, I would say. The other thing that I'm kind of thinking about this is you could leave the system basically as it is now, and then add another classification that they bump up some people into. But the problem is, however, those people get picked. It would have to be, I would say, it could not be rules based. It would have to be people making a decision, which is like case by case, which I cannot see USPSA leadership ever doing. Because they're not going to want to be like, hey, this dude's in pro class, and then some dude that's, I don't know, some other dude from some other place is like, hey, well, why am I not in this pro class? And it's like, well, because fuck you, you don't belong in it. I just don't see them doing that. I don't see that ever happening. None of it really matters because match finish is what most people care about, but it would be a way to try to distinguish, to have the Grandmaster be like a more distinguished achievement.
Well,
to have less.
The way I understood it was they created GM because there were too many people in M class.
That is my understanding as well.
Like I've read that more than one place. So I mean, yeah, you could create something else then if you think you have too many people in GM. But there's always, like you said, let's say you have to win an area match to get around that. What if there's terrible scheduling?
Well, no. It's like you're 100% right. You can walk it through. Like IDPA tried this with DM, and just look how that went.
Yeah. What if there's 2 area matches the same weekend on opposite ends of the country? Like maybe that one person wins one because the other person didn't travel. Like you can't.
That's what I mean.
It's full of holes again. No.
It could not be rules based. It would have to be like, we're putting this dude's going to pro class. And that's it. And
also, I'm sure would be people that rage quit. So like, what if, I made GM and maybe I just made GM and I'm just barely hanging there and everyone else keeps getting better and I don't get better with them. If I lost that, would I potentially want to rage quit? Well, then that would cost USPSA, activity fees and membership. So,
well, that's another question. Is like, people earn. It doesn't have to be GM, but people can be training really hard and earn a classification, and then since people don't move down, like a couple years later, like that person hasn't been training, and they show up and they're not what they were.
And that was my next point. Yeah, like it applies to GM, but wouldn't it also apply to B class or A class?
Yeah.
Like what if you trained all year and you just made A class? You're so excited you made it out of B class.
I kind of like the idea of achieving a rank and like kind of keeping it, but that's just me. It doesn't really make much difference to me one way or the other. But I think the solution to the perceived problem is I would just leave the classifiers hard as fuck and then bump a few people out and like, hey, we just put these guys in pro class and like that's it. I could see doing that. That would be interesting, but leadership would never go for that because it'd be like, well, it's like, what is pornography? It's like I can't write it down for you, but I know it when I see it. You know what I mean? It's be the same thing. Well, what's pro class? It's like there's some guys, if I could start mentioning names and I'd be like, I don't care what division that motherfucker shows up to shoot, who he borrows a gun from or anything, that dude's in pro class. I don't care. Like, and those dudes when you see them and you just like bump them to that. And then, whatever. But that would be just to have a class that people earn that's kind of like cool and meaningful or whatever. Not that it makes much of a difference to anything. It's just an interesting thing to spitball. I think the big picture, you should look at classifications as like the higher somebody's classification, the better they tend to do. This is not a very broken system that way. There's GM is very stratified. There's a lot of people in there with very disparate skills. That is true. And there's a few people that quite famously have been sandbagging like motherfuckers for a while. There's always outliers. There always is.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, you don't focus. The outliers don't make the system. Like you don't look at it that way. You look at how the system works generally, and generally, it's okay.
Yeah, like if you generally look, the A class guy normally beats the B class guy, and like there's some exceptions, but for the most part, like it is what it is. Your performance in the end is going to like tell the story. So
absolutely. Well. Anything to add to that, Mr. Kim?
I think we had a good conversation.
We always do. All right. Thank you guys for coming on. Listeners, if you have something you want us to talk about, go to benstegger.com. Send us your questions. And get your coasters now. Go on Amazon. Type in my name. That's Ben Stegger. Look at the most expensive product, book product anyway, that you can find. Click on that, and that should be your new drink coaster. Is that a good ad there, Joel? You like that?
Hey, I like it. It works well. It protects my coffee table. I like it.